So in 2014, I got sick, and we didn't know what was wrong, and it had started with a fever, and I kept getting worse, and we were seeing a bunch of doctors and was having really strange symptoms, and we weren't really getting any answers. I had intended and really desired to trust God, but I kind of emotionally crashed and burned after about 3 months of getting worse. And I didn't understand what I was feeling. I just was completely wrecked with fear. I was focused on my circumstances. I would, look at my kids, instead of being thankful for the time I was having with them, I would, feel bad for myself that I wasn't able to do more physically. And there was this shame that I carried that, there must be something wrong with me, because I've asked God to heal me and I've trusted Him to heal me, and that hasn't happened. As a Christian, just crumbled my entire foundation. I didn't know where to turn. All of a sudden it was just well, if God doesn't love me, then I don't know how to do life. It was quite a process getting from doubting that God even loved me, which was totally contrary to what I'd believed my entire life, and would explain why I didn't feel like myself at all. But I really feel like he took the crumbled foundation and then rebuilt it piece by piece, just showing me one truth after another about in His Word. This is what you're to believe about me. This is what my word says is true of you. This is what it says is true of me. And He renewed my mind over those couple years, and it was definitely a process. So in September of 2016, on Ariana's first day of school, I found out that I was pregnant. We were surprised but very excited. And a couple weeks later, I knew that something was wrong, and I spent some time with God, and I told Him that I was going to trust Him this time regardless of circumstances, that I would praise Him no matter how this pregnancy unfolded. And then the next day, I lost my baby. This time, going through a struggle, and based on what I had learned with the sickness, I was careful and I chose God's thoughts, and it was like He showed me these pits that the enemy had for me to fall in, of self-pity and fear, trying to control things that clearly I had no control over. So it was, 2 nights after I'd lost the baby, and I was just having some alone time with God. And, I was journaling, and it surprised me when I wrote, I literally wrote it on the page and then read it. I can't believe I just wrote that I have joy. How do you crying, sad that you lost your baby, and have joy at the same time? But He just stepped in at that moment and told me, I never left you, and you were never abandoned, you were never rejected. And it had been my own choices, my own, like I had chosen fear, I had been scared, I had made my circumstances the most important thing over him. And I knew now, like, there wasn't anything to fear. Like, I don't have to be afraid because he's with me. And as long as I cling to him, that's not going to change. And the circumstances are just circumstances, and they're temporal. And, you know, I get to be with God for eternity. And it's a beautiful promise. And it's the promise that turned what should have been, from a worldly point of view, this tragedy in my life into like an incredible source of healing for me emotionally, between God and I. And now it's still sad, but there's this joy that I just can't explain any other way.